Our opening words were written by Kathleen McTeague. You who are broken-hearted, who woke today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind, come in. You who are brave but wounded, limping through life and hurting with every step, come in. You who are fearful, who live with shadows hovering over your shoulders, come in. This place is sanctuary, and it is for you. Our time for all ages today is a story entitled I Am Okay, written by Jennifer Waddle in consultation with Dr. Nikki Flynn and illustrated by Mariana Halleck. We all have feelings, and feelings aren't bad. Everyone feels angry, nervous, or sad. It's how we handle our feelings that counts and makes a difference. So don't worry if you have big feelings. Just make good choices that are healthy and wise. Remember, feelings are a part of you, and there's always something positive you can do. Sometimes at school, someone says something mean to me. It hurts my feelings and makes me feel sad or embarrassed or even angry. Like the time Theo said my hair was sticking up and laughed at me in front of the whole class. When this happens, I take a deep breath and walk away. I'll let my teacher know what happened and ask to take a water break. When I have a friend over to play and they don't want to do the same thing I want to do, I feel frustrated. Like the time Lucy was over and I wanted to play board games while she wanted to play outside. When this happens, I know it is best to take a piece in and find something we both want to do. It works every time. When I have a big school project to finish, I start to feel worried and nervous, like the time I needed to make a display for the school science fair. Sometimes I feel panicky and I can't sleep. When this happens, I know it is best to take it one step at a time and ask for help. It is brave to ask for help. After all, that is how most things get done, one step at a time. Sometimes I feel scared or anxious when I go to the doctor or the dentist. My tummy feels upset and I don't know what to do. Like the time I had a cavity and the dentist needed to fill it. When this happens, I know it is best to take a few deep breaths to calm myself down. Deep breaths make me feel calm, confident, hopeful, and peaceful. When our class has to perform in front of an audience, I feel nervous and jittery. Like the time we had a school play and I had to recite my lines. When this happens, I know it is best to get my wiggles out. I can listen to my favorite music and dance around. This is a fun way to take my jitters away. Sometimes I feel down and out, and I just want to lie on my bed all day. Like the time when my friends were busy and I felt all alone. When this happens, I know it is best to get a drink of water and eat a healthy snack. I can also go outside in the sunshine. These are good ways to get some energy for the things I like to do. You see, everyone has feelings, and feelings aren't bad. We just need to know how to handle them. So the next time your feelings happen, take a few deep breaths, get a drink of water, tell a parent, teacher, or a friend what's bothering you. Turn on your favorite music and dance around. There are lots of ways to handle your feelings. We're very fortunate to have BBUUC member Mike Ludwick presenting special music today for this worship service. You can read more about Mike in the order of service. Welcome, Mike.
Do you want to do the welcome? Go ahead. Singing is good for the spirit, so I hope you'll sing along with me. It's pretty simple. People have the power. We still do have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Give it a try now. People have the power. Come on. People have the power. You can do it. People have the power. People have the power. There we go. I was dreaming, in my dreaming, of an aspect bright and fair, and my sleeping, it was broken, but my dream, it lingered near, in the form of shining valleys, where the pure air rarefied, and my senses nearly opened. I awakened to the cry that the people have the power to redeem the work of fools. Upon the meek, the grace is showered. It's decreed, the people rule. Come on now. People have the power, that's it. People have the power. People have the power, stay strong. People have the power. Vengeful aspects became suspect and bending low as if to hear, and the armies ceased advancing because the people had their ear. In the shepherds and the soldiers, where they lay beneath the stars, exchanging visions and laying arms to waste in the dust, in the storm of shining valleys, where the pure air rarefied, and my senses newly opened. I awaken to the cry. Come on. People have the power, that's it. People have the power. People have the power, yes we do. People have the power, don't give up. Where there were deserts, I saw fountains like cream, the waters rise, and we strolled there together with none to laugh or criticize, and the leopard and the lamb lay together, truly bound. And I was hoping, in my hoping, to recall what I had found. I was dreaming in my dreaming, God knows, a pure view. As I surrender to my sleeping, I commit my dream to you. Come on now. People have the power to think. People have the power to speak. People have the power to march. People have the power to fight. The power to dream, to rule, to wrestle the world from fools. It's decreed the people rule. Man, it's decreed the people rule. Listen, I believe everything we dream can come to pass through our union. We can turn the world around, and we can turn the earth's revolution. People have the power. People have the power. Speak out. People have the power. We can do it. People have the power. Fight on now. People have the power. Have faith. People have the power. Stick together. People have the power. Here we go. People have the power.
Amen. My name is Elizabeth DeCoux, and it's my privilege to serve as your worship leader this morning. Whoever you are and whatever path brought you to our door, we're glad you are here. We are a progressive spiritual group whose mission is to create and nourish a loving community that seeks justice and respect for all. I especially want to welcome any first-time or returning visitors this morning. And I would invite you, if you haven't already been by our welcome table near the entrance, to please go by there and get a name tag if you'd like so we can greet you by name. And they have some materials back there that you may be interested in. If you have questions, ask just about anyone. We'll be glad to answer. Or if we don't know the answer, we'll put you in touch with someone who does. I invite you to join us in the back of the sanctuary after the service for coffee, refreshments, and fellowship. At this time, please turn off or silence your phone to help create an atmosphere conducive to worship. You will find that as Unitarian Universalists, we invite you to know us not by our creeds, but by our deeds. That's because we have no shared mandatory creed in this church. What holds us together instead is covenant. So I invite everyone to join in speaking our congregational covenant. The words are in the order of service. Please join me in saying them together. We covenant to engage one another with honesty, kindness, and respect, to value diversity, seek understanding of our differences, and practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. We make these promises to those who are here and those yet to come, so that we may be a safe, welcoming, and beloved community of acceptance, learning, and transformation. As Manny Andrade comes forward to light our chalice, I invite you to hear the words of Joseph Cherry. As we gather together for worship this morning, we light our chalice as we do every week. It is a symbol of our faith. May its light be a beacon of hope for the many, those who feel lost, those who feel threatened, those who feel tired, those who are uncertain. May our beacon of hope help you find home, help you feel safe, give you rest, and honor your searching mind and spirit. Thank you, Manny. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our call to worship. The words are in your order of service. Unitarian Universalists have chosen 6 spiritual values to embody our faith with love at the center of the 6. One of those spiritual values is generosity. Today, the offering is different and special because the entire plate offering, anything you put in the plate, will go to the Unitarian Universalist Association's disaster relief effort, which is helping people and congregations affected by the recent hurricanes. If you want to donate to your pledge, you will find a box you can use at the rear of the sanctuary, because everything that goes in the plate will go to disaster relief. We have a short video to tell you more about that effort.
Hi, my name is Beth Casebolt, and I am a member of the UUA's Disaster Relief Fund team. When disaster hits a community, people want to help. Often that takes the form of contributing financially to organizations that they trust, organizations that they know have the relationships necessary to convert monetary donations into real-life support for the people who need it. The UUA's Disaster Relief Fund does just that. We receive donations from congregations and individuals who want to support Unitarian Universalist congregations and their wider communities in need. And we review grant applications and distribute those funds to congregations and communities following a disaster. Grants from the Disaster Relief Fund helped congregations care for their buildings and the needs of their members, as well as supporting people in the wider community, especially those who may not be eligible for other grant programs. Where have our grants gone? To Oklahoma City for ice storm cleanup, Ashland, Oregon for fire damage to congregant homes, to Cedar Rapids, Iowa for repairs following the DeCoux, and Arlington, Virginia for remediating flood damage. Funds have been sent following wildfires, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, ice and snowstorms, and more. In addition, the UUA understands the connection between disaster relief and justice making. It is the most vulnerable populations who suffer worst in a disaster. Disaster relief grants to our UU congregations and related organizations not only help other Unitarian Universalists, they can also support on-the-ground relief efforts through existing partnerships that congregations already have. These grants encourage congregations to build coalitions to meet the needs of their wider communities. Our Disaster Relief Fund is part of a covenant between the UUA and congregations, between congregations who give generously and those in need, and with our community partners. Through aiding our congregations, their members, and their community partners, we are able to embody our faith and values. On behalf of the Disaster Relief Fund team, I thank you for supporting this fund and for sharing our story with others.
As our offertory ushers, Bruce Peterson and Judy Holmes, come forward this morning, I invite you to participate in the blessed practice of giving by taking the plate and passing it to your neighbor. At the conclusion of the offering, I'll invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Our speaker today is no stranger to this congregation. Reverend Carmen Emerson is our affiliated community minister in full fellowship with the Unitarian Universalist Association. Her work in the broader community happens as a board-certified chaplain and coordinator of spiritual services for Baptist hospitals in Northeast Florida. Welcome, Reverend Carmen.
I want to invite us into a time of meditation and reflection in words, in silence, and in music. So I'm going to offer meditation in just a few moments. We'll follow that with shared silence, which I'll end with a chime. And then we're just going to go right into Circle Round for Freedom. We'll sing that 2 times through. The words are going to be projected on the screen for you. So for right now, feel grounded in this sanctuary, in this safe space. Feet on the floor, shoulders relaxed. Fingers spread, maybe your hands are resting in your lap. Close your eyes if you'd like to, you're safe here. Or let them linger on a fixed spot like our chalice flame. Let's take a good deep breath together. And another. And another. Today, when the heart is a small, tight knot, I do not try to untangle it. I don't tug on the strings in a desperate attempt to unravel it. I don't even wonder at how it got so snarled. Instead, I imagine cradling it, cupping it with my hands like something precious, something wounded, a bird with a broken wing. I cradle my heart like the frightened thing it is. I imagine all the other frightened hearts and imagine them all being held in love. And I breathe. I breathe and feel how the breathing invites a spaciousness. I breathe and let myself be moved by the breathing as I open and soften. Open and soften. And nothing changes. And everything changes. The heart, still a knot, remembers. It knows how to love. It knows it is not alone. We enter now in silence.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul. For the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle.
This is not the sermon I hoped to preach today. We arrive with big feelings. The outcome of the election is not what I hoped it would be, and from what I've read on your Facebook pages or heard directly from you in our one-on-one conversations, the outcome is also not what many of you hoped it would be. What my colleague, the Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons, wrote 8 years ago on the morning after the 2016 election rings true for this election too. It sucks when our values are repudiated by the larger culture, she said, but they are our values even when they do not prevail. That's why we go to the trouble of nurturing covenantal communities to be the vessel for them. Hold the space, dear ones. Hold the space. We gather here Sunday after Sunday to hold the space and keep the faith because we need comfort and encouragement from people who share our values and with whom we feel safe enough to be vulnerable with our fears and honest about our hopes. Our covenant, our aspirational promises to one another make such safety possible. We gather here Sunday after Sunday to hold the space and keep the faith so that we may build our courage and strengthen our commitment to be compassionate people of change, people who strategize, organize, and prepare to live our values beyond the walls of this sanctuary and into the world. Our mission, our declaration of purpose, guides our work. I'm glad to be with you today. There were so many things to listen to and read in the weeks and days and hours leading up to this sermon. Lots of experts, authors, pundits, organizers, poets, and religious leaders across the decades, including Martin Luther King Jr. and Elie Wiesel. Resources from the UUA and insights from my UU ministerial colleagues, including this profound reflection by the Reverend Molly Hausch Gordon. I want to tell you that we are still alive in a world that is so beautiful and brutal all at once, and always has been, and it is all drenched in meaning no matter where it's headed, and it matters that we love each other well and that we drink up the beauty and resist the brutality. It matters. I believe we arrive here this morning with heightened awareness about the fragility of beauty and the reality of brutality. Arrive here more knowledgeable about the things we've taken for granted and can no longer afford to. Arrive here with a deeper understanding of all the things beyond our control. Arrive here on notice that the people and things that we care about are very vulnerable. What we care about is what we love, writes Rebecca Solnit, and we love so much more than the narrow version of who we are acknowledges. We love justice, love truth, love freedom, love equality, love the confidence that comes with secure human rights. We love places, love rivers and valleys and forests, love seasons and the patterns and order they imply, love wildlife from hummingbirds to great blue herons, butterflies to bears. This always was a love story, writes Solnit. It is still a love story. It is still a love story. What we love is in jeopardy, and we arrive here grieving. We arrive in our sanctuary today with individual and collective grief as a container for our myriad emotional, physical, and cognitive responses to what has happened in our nation. I want to name some of our grief responses because acknowledging our grief and beginning to mourn what is lost is critical for healing our spirits, for moving from despair towards a place of hope. And hope, by the way, is an expectation of a good that is yet to be. So we want to move from despair to hope, and then move from hope to action. Our emotional responses include profound sorrow. I'm sure I am not the only person who has cried this week. Our emotional responses include anger that we find ourselves, our democracy, our nation in such jeopardy based on acknowledged intentional campaigns of misinformation and badge of honor hypocrisy. We feel acrimony at betrayal by institutions and people we once trusted, like legacy media and government officials sworn to serve, like family members and friends who we thought had our backs. We feel rage at the loss of rights and protections that so many worked and sacrificed to secure, especially for women and people of color and the LGBTQIA community. Behind our anger is fear of physical danger and a loss of autonomy, our fear of dehumanization, our fear of immediate and widespread suffering that we may be powerless to relieve or to endure, and our fear of irreversible degradation of our revered natural world. Our physical responses include exhaustion, fatigue, lethargy, or hyperactivity. How many of us needed to call in sick to work at least one day this week? Needed extra sleep? We're hitting the Pepto-Bismol daily. Experienced migraines or hives, exercised ourselves past our usual workout, craved additional physical intimacy. More drinking. I didn't try that, but I did hide Pepto-Bismol in my coffee cup at work. So. Some of us have needed quiet sensory comfort, hugs without words because there aren't words, or the physical closeness of people we perceive as safe. Some of us have felt physically safe only in that kind of solitude that could way too easily become isolation. Our cognitive responses include disorientation, confoundment, and disbelief that we find ourselves in a time of recrudescence, the return to something terrible after a time of reprieve, because we know so much more now than we knew in 2016 and 2020, and because we have witnessed a public and steadfast movement with gleeful and defiant transparency away from empathy and towards authoritarianism, misogyny, racism, transphobia, xenophobia, dehumanization, contempt for facts and scientific knowledge, a seemingly cultivated and premeditated ignorance of culture, of civics, of history, and for those not ignorant of culture, of civics, or history, a willful and callous disregard for them as they hold their noses or not, and excuse the inexcusable, sane-wash the stories, laugh at the obscenities, gaslight their claims to moral high ground and trickle-down theories, parade their corruption, support the grift and the greed, all to preserve primacy and relevance to which they believe themselves entitled, counting on reward from the patriarchy that looks just like them, all while thumping the Bible, whose every Jewish and Christian tenet they betray with impunity, all while stroking the egos of venture capitalists and the hard drives of the tech bros who believe they can save us according to their will and that they alone deserve to do so. Therefore, our cognitive responses also include disgust and contempt. And I don't want those to be in me, but I'm telling you they are. Even as I recognize that the value-based choices that seem so right and clear to me are just as confounding, disgusting, and contemptuous to those who find themselves relieved about and celebrating this year's election as their value-based choices are to me. And I grieve all that has been lost and may still be lost in that chasm between us. Under the weight of such rage, such fear, such disorientation, such acrimony, such despair and grief, it is tempting to withdraw from the chaos, to numb ourselves to the greater good, to acquiesce to powerlessness and hopelessness, until acceptance becomes apathy, becomes indifference to everything, including the loss of our autonomy and our communities. To paraphrase Rebecca Solnit, they want us to feel powerless and to surrender and to let them trample everything, and we are not going to let them. You are not giving up, and neither am I. The fact that we cannot save everything does not mean that we cannot save anything, and everything we can save is worth saving. You may need to grieve or scream or take time off, but you have a role no matter what, and right now, good friends and good principles are worth gathering in. Remember what you love, advises Solnit. Remember in this tide of hate what love is. The pain we feel is because of what we love, and that is a perfect description of our grief. Together we have the capacity to mourn and to organize, and, says Solnit, we can do both at once. But we don't have to organize right away in this moment of furious mourning. In these moments of furious mourning, I think we must give more attention to our grief than to our rage. As activist Kelly Hayes writes, we don't have time for acrimony. If acknowledging that is a challenge for you, ask yourself what the world is worth and engage accordingly. As a chaplain trained in grief and bereavement work, I want to share some actual needs of mourning that can be adapted to help us move into and through what comes next. So number one, we need to acknowledge with our heads and our hearts the reality of what has been lost. Naming all that we are grieving is part of what we've done together already this morning, and I trust that you're going to continue that in the conversation, the gathering that will happen after this service today. Acknowledge what we've lost. Number two, embrace the pain of the loss. Our pain is appropriate. It's a part of our love for all that has been lost, extending to all that seems in jeopardy now. Again, I know that I am not the only person who cried this week. We are hurting. And we even have anticipatory grief about what may still be lost. I keep thinking, is my imagination bad enough to even imagine what could be happening? We need to remember, number three, we need to remember and to cherish what has been lost to us rather than minimizing our memories to avoid the pain. Remember and cherish what has been lost. Number four, we need to tend our evolving self-identity. I love this one because it's a heady thing, and you know that I love that heady stuff. So, number four, we need to tend our evolving self-identity. With more knowledge about our fellow citizens, we recognize what we've taken for granted and those things that we have been oblivious to. Our values remain unchanged, but our identities and self-understanding will necessarily evolve as we begin to prepare for a changing national landscape. Who am I called and prepared to be? Who are we called and prepared to be? And I'm telling you, I read something this week, and it's in my heart now and in my head now. The question was, are you going to be the person who protected Anne Frank or the person who turned Anne Frank in? And let us hope that we don't go to that. But I think that is a question worth exploring, and only you will know how to answer that question. Who am I called and prepared to be? Who are we called and prepared to be? Number 5, we need to search for meaning, to actively ponder the meaning of life in general, the meaning of our continued individual lives, and as you use, we need to ponder the meaning of our covenantal community. Number 6, we need to receive and to accept help from one another. We need to receive and to accept help from one another. This is really hard for many of us. Grief is what happens on the inside of us after a loss. Mourning is that public, outward-facing expression of our grief. We need and deserve the empathy and support of others as we actively encounter and share our grief, a process that helps us move towards action on the ground as the antidote to doom and to despair. So in addition to these 6 needs of mourning, these 6 needs of mourning furiously, I begin to close with 2 more things that I think we can and must do, and both relate to that which is within our control. We need to practice sleeping with bread, and we need to practice giving our bread away. As our ushers come forward to pass bread baskets among you, and raise your hand, by the way, if you need the gluten vegan-free option, because we love you, we're thinking about everything. As our ushers pass the bread baskets among you, let me explain what I mean with 2 stories. During the bombing raids of World War II, thousands of children were left orphaned and left to starve. The fortunate ones were rescued and placed in refugee camps where they received food and good care. But many of these children who had lost so much could not sleep at night. They feared waking up to find themselves once again homeless and hungry and without food. Nothing seemed to reassure them. Finally, someone hit upon the idea of giving each child a piece of bread to hold at bedtime. Holding their bread, these children could finally sleep in peace. All through the night, the bread reminded them, "Today I ate, and I will eat again tomorrow." Sleeping with bread is a metaphor for finding that which comforts you, restores you with a sense of peace so that you are able to rest your mind, your body, and your spirit, renewing your capacity for all the organizing, resistance, and change to come. Trust yourself to know the things that will bring you this kind of comfort, and also seek joy every single day, even in the smallest of pleasures, and not as a way to turn from the world, but as a way of preparing to return to it. Hopeful, wise, determined. Share your comforts and joys with others, just in case they need them too. Cook for others, volunteer, go deeper with your hobby, tackle your someday reading list, travel our national parks, spend uninterrupted time with your family, your pets, your friends. I find comfort and joy in poetry, have been sustained by the poetry of Rosemary Watola Tromer, including this poem because, and I want to share it with you as we think about sleeping with bread and comfort and joy. So I can't save the world, can't save even myself, can't wrap my arms around every frightened child, cannot foster peace among nations, can't bring love to all who feel unlovable. So I practice opening my heart right here in this room and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street heart first. And if it is insufficient to share love, I will practice loving anyway. I want to converse about truth, about trust. I want to invite compassion into every interaction. One willing heart cannot stop a war. One willing heart cannot feed all the hungry. And sometimes, daunted by a task too big, I ask myself, what's the use of trying? But today, the invitation is clear to be ridiculously courageous in love, to open the heart like a lilac in May, knowing freeze is possible and opening anyway. To take love seriously, to give love wildly, to race up to the world as if I were a puppy adored and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance, to feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open to love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. The second bread story that I have for you is also from World War II, as told by Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts, comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And there were always choices to make. Every day, every hour offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threatened to rob you of your very self, your inner freedom. Frankl referred to these choices within our control as the spiritual freedom that makes life meaningful and purposeful. In this story, the bread represents that which gives us meaning and purpose, the choice to be who we are in the world and to bring hope to others. Howard Zinn reminds us that to be hopeful in bad times is based on the fact that human history is not only a history of cruelty, but also a history of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. If we see only the worst, says Zinn, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us energy to act. Giving their bread away was behaving magnificently. Zinn also says, if we do act in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presence. And to live now as we think human beings should live in defiance of all that is bad around us is itself a marvelous victory. So as we grieve and mourn and organize for all that lies ahead, let us remember to practice sleeping with bread and giving bread away. May the bread you've received this morning remind you of all that comforts you, restores joy in you, prepares you to be ridiculously courageous in love, prepares you to love as if it matters because it does. And that is the prelude to everything that we do next. May the bread you've received this morning remind you of the choices within your control, and may you choose to behave magnificently through your infinite succession of present moments. helping to make love visible, one small act at a time. May it be so, and may we be so. Amen. So I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn. It's number 1014 in the Teal hymnal. I want to let you know that composer Jason Shelton changed the title and words from this hymn from Standing on the Side of Love to Answering the Call of Love. So any place that you see Standing on the Side of Love, please sing Answering the Call of Love. He's the composer and he changed it. That's our work now. Answering the call of love and being able to sing about it will always strengthen it for us. Gary is going to play the melody for you one time through in case you don't know this song.
Thank you so much, Reverend Carmen. As Manny returns to extinguish our flames, please hear these words by Ben Atherton Zeman. As we extinguish the flame of our chalice, we ignite it in ourselves. Our commitment to our mission and to each other is an unquenchable flame. Until we light this chalice again, know that we are not alone. Amen. Blessed be, and remember This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. Go forth to love and serve the world until we meet again.
Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people, right on. Come on, sing it if you want. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people, right on. You say you want a revolution, we better get it on right away. After we cast our vote, it's time to get to work, singing power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people, right on. So many people working for nothing. You better pay them what they really owe. We all need healthcare too, and we know what to do. Singing power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people, right on. I got to ask you, people of justice, will you work to bring justice for all? Now that we've paved the way, we got to stay engaged, singing power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people, right on. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people.